Pay attention, because what I'm about to say is going to make some people very uncomfortable. And if you've ever watched someone freeze when you look at them too long, you already know exactly why. There's a strange moment that happens around you. Not loud, not dramatic, not movie-style special effects, just a glitch. Someone is talking confidently, then they stumble mid-sentence. Someone is lying, then they start over-explaining. Someone is pretending not to care, then they start defending themselves for no reason. And you didn't even say anything yet. You just looked at them, and suddenly they're acting like you just opened a door inside their head and walked around without permission. Here's the part nobody admits out loud. Most people aren't scared of strength. They aren't scared of intelligence. They aren't even scared of confidence. They're scared of being seen accurately. Because the average person survives life through performance, little scripts, little masks, little "I'm fine" speeches. Psychologists estimate that people spend a huge portion of their day managing impressions, adjusting tone, posture, words, constantly editing themselves so others won't see what's really going on underneath. In other words, most people aren't living, they're presenting. So when someone like you walks in, someone observant, quiet, emotionally sharp, painfully perceptive, it disrupts everything. Because you don't watch the show, you watch the cracks in the stage. You notice the half-second hesitation before they answer, the forced laugh that's half a pitch too high, the way their story changes slightly each time they tell it, the fake confidence that smells like panic wearing cologne. And the wild part? You're not even trying. This is just how your brain works. Meanwhile, they're thinking, how does this person know? Why do I feel exposed? Why do I feel like they can read me? Relax. You're not walking into dreams. You're not psychic. You're not secretly scanning souls like some sci-fi character. If you were, life would be way easier. You'd at least win every lottery ticket and skip awkward conversations. What's really happening is far more grounded and way more unsettling. You pay attention, fully, consistently, without distraction, and in a world where most people can't even focus through a 10-second video without checking their phone, that level of awareness feels supernatural. Think about that. We've normalized being half asleep. So when someone is fully awake, they look unreal. That's you. And that's why rooms get weird when you enter. That's why people over-explain themselves around you. That's why strangers randomly confess their life stories like you're an unpaid therapist. That's why some people like you instantly, and others feel low-key nervous for no logical reason. Because your presence quietly says, I see what you're not saying. And nothing rattles a human ego faster than realizing their inner world isn't as private as they thought. Not because you invaded it, but because they accidentally revealed it, and you caught it, without trying, without chasing, without effort, which honestly is both impressive and a little hilarious. You're out here just existing, and people are reacting like you installed hidden cameras in their thoughts. So no, you're not entering dreams, but to them, it feels like you already walked through their mind, made notes, turned off the lights, and left before they noticed. And that quiet, unexplainable feeling, that's exactly what we're about to unpack. Number one, you read people faster than they can perform. Most people walk into every room with a costume on, not a literal one, but a personality they put together just for the occasion. The confident version for work, the chill version for friends, the unbothered version for people they secretly envy, the nice version for people they actually can't stand. It's constant acting. And the truth is, most of them aren't even aware they're doing it. It's automatic, survival mode, social camouflage. They rely on one quiet assumption: nobody is looking closely enough to notice. Then you show up, and that assumption dies instantly. Because while everyone else listens to words, you watch behavior. You catch the tiny stuff they forget to control, the half-second pause before they answer a simple question, the way their smile drops the moment attention leaves them, the voice that gets slightly higher when they're lying, the fake laugh that sounds rehearsed instead of natural, the way their confidence disappears when someone higher status walks in. These aren't big dramatic tells. They're microscopic. But you see them like they're written in bold letters. So before they finish building their character, you already know who they really are. And that's what shakes them. Because normally, people get time to sell the illusion. They get to introduce the fake version first and hope it sticks. With you, they don't get that luxury. You clock them in seconds, not minutes, not weeks, seconds. It feels unfair to them, like you skipped the trailer and went straight to the behind-the-scenes footage. Suddenly, they start stumbling, over-explaining, talking too much, trying harder, fixing their posture, adjusting their tone. It's almost awkward to watch, not because you're judging them, but because they can feel that you're not buying what they're selling. And here's the funny part. You're not even trying to analyze anybody. You're just present, calm, observant. Your brain naturally connects patterns fast. That's it. But to them, it feels like you scanned their entire personality in one glance. Like you walked past the mask, opened the door behind it, and sat down in the real room without asking permission. People don't fear being disliked. They fear being seen accurately. And around you, there's nowhere to hide. Number 2, you remember details people pray you'd forget. Most people live like yesterday never happened. They talk, lie, promise, exaggerate, contradict themselves, and assume everything just disappears into the air. To them, conversations are temporary. Words are disposable. Once it's said, it's gone. But your mind doesn't work like that. Your brain records, not in some obsessive way, not like you're keeping a secret notebook. You just naturally store things. The exact sentence they used, the tone shift when they got defensive. The story they told last month that doesn't match today's version. The "I'd never do that" they casually dropped, right before doing exactly that. You don't even try to remember, it just sticks. And that's what messes with people, because they're used to getting away with things through forgetfulness. They rely on the world having a short memory. They rely on you not connecting dots. Then one day you calmly say, "That's not what you said before," or "I thought you told me something different last week," and everything changes. The air gets tight, not because you accused them, but because you remembered, and suddenly they feel exposed. It's almost funny how fast people scramble when they realize you keep receipts without even trying. They start backtracking. "No, that's not what I meant. You misunderstood. You're taking it wrong." But deep down, they know the truth. They know you're right. They just didn't expect anyone to hold on to the details. To them, your memory feels threatening, because consistency is dangerous to someone who survives on manipulation. When you remember clearly, lies don't breathe well around you. Fake personalities don't last long. People can't rewrite history to make themselves look better. You quietly remove their escape routes, and you don't even do it aggressively. That's the part that unsettles them most. You're not confrontational. You're not dramatic. You're just calm and precise. "Yeah, but that's not what you said." Simple, soft, deadly accurate. Now they can't relax around you, because they know something uncomfortable. You're not someone they can reset with. With you, what they say actually matters, and that kind of awareness makes careless people nervous. Number 3, you don't react where they expect you to. Most people walk through life pressing buttons, not elevators, emotional buttons. They tease to get a rise out of you. They criticize to make you defend yourself. They ignore you to make you chase. They brag to make you feel small. It's all strategy, even when they pretend it's not. Human behavior is weirdly predictable. Push here, get anger. Pull there, get insecurity. Say the right insult, Watch the explosion. People learn these patterns early and use them without thinking. That's how they control situations and feel powerful. But then they try it on you. And nothing happens. No explosion, no over-defending, no scrambling to prove yourself, no desperate need to be understood, just calm, maybe a shrug, maybe a quiet stare. Maybe you change the topic like it wasn't even worth energy, and that's when their brain short-circuits, because their move was supposed to work. They threw bait and expected you to bite. Instead, you stepped over it like it was trash on the floor. Now they're the uncomfortable one. This is what really unsettles people about you. You don't give them emotional handles to grab. They can't steer you, they can't predict you, they can't make you feel something on command. So they start trying harder, louder jokes, sharper comments, extra attitude, subtle digs. Still nothing. You stay steady, not because you're cold, not because you don't feel, but because you choose what deserves a reaction, and most nonsense simply doesn't qualify. That level of control feels unnatural to reactive people. They mistake it for calculation, like you're 10 moves ahead playing chess while they're flipping coins. They start wondering what you're thinking, start second-guessing themselves, start feeling watched, because if they can't move you, they can't read you. And if they can't read you, they can't control you. That's when the power flips, silently, without you doing anything dramatic. You didn't dominate the room. You didn't argue. You didn't prove anything. You just didn't dance when they pulled the strings. And nothing confuses a manipulative person faster than realizing the puppet has no strings attached. Number 4, you ask questions that hit too close to the bone. Most conversations are fake safe, surface level, polished, recycled. How are you? I'm good. How's work? Fine. Nobody actually says anything real. It's verbal wallpaper, noise to pass time. People love it because it protects them. As long as the talk stays shallow, they stay hidden. No one has to reveal anything uncomfortable. No one has to be honest. Then you open your mouth. And instead of following the script, you go slightly deeper. Not aggressive, not interrogating, just direct. Are you actually happy there? Why did you really leave? You don't sound excited about it. What happened? That didn't look like it sat right with you. Simple sentences. But they land heavy, because you don't ask to fill space. You ask to understand, and most people aren't prepared to be understood that accurately. The weird thing is, you're not even trying to expose anyone. You're just naturally curious about what's real. You skip the fluff and go straight to the core. You talk like someone who doesn't have time for pretending, but to them it feels personal, surgical, like you reached past their public story and grabbed the private one they weren't ready to show. You'll notice it happens fast too. Their posture changes. Eyes shift. They laugh nervously. They stall. Sometimes they overshare way more than they planned to, like something in them just broke open. Later they sit there thinking, why did I tell them all that? And somehow it feels like you pulled it out of them. You didn't. You just created a space where lying felt pointless. That's what makes your questions different. They're calm, steady, no judgment, no pressure, just clarity. And clarity is terrifying to people who survive on half-truths, because when you ask the right question, the mask doesn't slowly slide off. It drops instantly. Now they feel seen in places they didn't authorize, not attacked, not exposed publicly, just known. And for someone used to hiding their real motives, fears and regrets, being known that quickly feels almost invasive, like you walked straight into their inner world, turned on the lights and politely waited for the truth. Most people avoid depth. You walk straight into it. And that's why talking to you feels less like small talk and more like accidental therapy. Number 5, you're comfortable with silence, which makes others confess. Most people are terrified of silence, not annoyed by it, not bored by it, terrified. The second a conversation pauses, they rush to fill the gap, like the quiet might expose something. They start rambling, oversharing, explaining things nobody asked about, tossing out nervous jokes, anything to avoid that heavy, still space. Because silence forces people to sit with themselves, and most people don't actually like what's going on inside their own head. So they keep talking. Talking is hiding. Noise is protection. But you don't do that. When a conversation hits a pause, you don't panic. You don't scramble to entertain. You don't feel the need to perform. You just sit there, calm, steady, relaxed, like nothing's wrong. And that calmness does something strange to people. It puts all the pressure on them. Now they feel exposed, because you're not helping them escape the moment. You're just watching, listening, present. It's not aggressive. You're not staring them down. You're simply there. But to someone used to constant chatter, your silence feels loud. It makes them hyper-aware of every thought they're trying to avoid. So they start talking. And the wild part is what comes out. Stuff they didn't plan to say, random confessions, personal stories, half-truths turning into full truths. I don't usually tell people this, but suddenly slips out like a reflex. 5 minutes later, they've revealed their fears, their mistakes, their drama, their secrets. And you barely said 10 words. Then they walk away feeling weirdly exposed, like you extracted information from them, like you did something. You didn't. You just didn't interrupt. That's it. You didn't rescue them from their own thoughts. And most people can't handle their own thoughts for long. Silence becomes a mirror. They start seeing themselves too clearly. And to escape that discomfort, they start spilling everything just to break the tension. Meanwhile, you're just chilling, probably thinking about what to eat later. But to them, it feels like psychological gravity, like your quiet presence pulls the truth out of them without effort. Because when someone refuses to fill the space with noise, the truth has nowhere left to hide. Number 6, you mirror people so precisely it unsettles them. Most people don't even notice the subtle ways they communicate. The tone of their voice, the rhythm of their words, the small gestures they repeat without thinking. It all happens automatically, like a background track nobody pays attention to. People rely on these patterns to signal who they are, to control how others perceive them, to maintain a sense of stability in social interactions. It's predictable, comfortable, safe. Then you come along. You don't try to imitate. You just naturally adjust. Your posture matches theirs. Your tone matches theirs. Your timing of words aligns perfectly with theirs. It's seamless, almost imperceptible. Not a parody, not mockery, just alignment. And that's when the weirdness kicks in. They feel like you're inside their head. They don't consciously understand why they feel suddenly understood, suddenly mirrored, suddenly seen. The comfort of alignment collides with the creepiness of realization. Subconsciously, they know that if you're mirroring them so accurately, you're noticing everything. Every subtle hesitation, every nervous tick, every micro-expression that betrays what they're really thinking. Most people depend on keeping parts of themselves hidden. They rely on the gaps between perception and reality to feel safe. But when someone mirrors them this closely, those gaps vanish. The invisible walls they've built start cracking. Suddenly, they feel vulnerable without knowing why. The effect is instantaneous. They overthink everything they just said. They pause. They laugh nervously. They backtrack. And you're just standing there, calm and effortless, not judging, not highlighting, just present. That's what makes it unnerving. Because they feel exposed without any visible threat. It's subtle, yet powerful. They can't pinpoint what's happening, but it rattles them to the core. Mirroring isn't about mimicry. It's about presence, awareness, and instinct. And when someone can do it with precision, it creates a quiet psychological pressure. People start spilling more, acting differently, adjusting themselves, trying to regain control. They sense your awareness and react before they even realize it. And in that tension, you hold the invisible power, simply because you reflect them so accurately that they can't hide. Number 7. You notice motives, not words. Most people hear what's said, not why it's said. They focus on words, on surface meaning, on tone that can be rehearsed or faked. Compliments, apologies, casual remarks. They take everything at face value, and that's exactly what keeps them vulnerable. People live in a world of deception, pretending to be what they think others want to see. Words are cheap, but motives are expensive. Motives reveal the real story, the hidden agenda, the emotional engine behind the performance. You don't get distracted by phrases or gestures. You watch intention. You read what drives people. You catch when someone's concern is really envy, when praise is really manipulation, when kindness is really strategy. It's not about judgment, it's about awareness. The world operates on surface interactions, but you operate on truth beneath the surface. Because of that, you see through lies instantly. People think they're being clever, thinking their words will protect them. They smile, they nod, they craft every sentence carefully, and yet you know the reason behind each one before they even finish speaking. That awareness flips the dynamic. Suddenly, they are predictable not because of what they say, but because their motives are exposed. That kind of clarity is unsettling. People rely on half-truths, casual deception, and social scripts to survive. They assume no one is paying enough attention to notice the engine running behind their actions. But you do. You notice the patterns, the triggers, the small tells that hint at hidden agendas. You pick up on fear, greed, pride, guilt. The invisible forces driving every word they speak. It makes people nervous without them realizing why. They stumble. They overcompensate. They self-edit more than usual. And the funny part is, you don't have to confront them. You don't have to call them out. The truth becomes obvious simply because you interact from awareness rather than surface-level perception. When someone can't hide motives from you, they feel exposed. Not publicly, not aggressively, but quietly, inevitably. It's a subtle pressure, a weight they can't shake, and it changes the way they behave around you. You don't manipulate. You simply see what others expect to remain hidden. And in that, your presence becomes quietly undeniable. Number 8. Your presence makes people self-evaluate without you saying anything. Most people spend their days performing for others without realizing it. They tell stories that make them look better. They laugh a little too hard at the wrong jokes. They act confident when inside they feel insecure. It's automatic. It's their survival mechanism. People build walls to hide what they fear others will see. They rely on constant distraction and chatter to avoid even noticing themselves. Then you enter the room. You don't need to say a word. You don't need to critique, comment, or correct. You just exist in a way that's calm, steady, and real. That alone creates contrast. Suddenly the world around them is blurry, chaotic, and performative, but you are precise, focused, and grounded. The difference is glaring, and it forces them to notice themselves. This effect happens subtly, but immediately. Their gestures, their tone, their little habitual lies feel exposed. They start adjusting unconsciously, overthinking what they said 5 seconds ago, replaying it in their head, questioning how they come across. They suddenly feel the weight of their own contradictions, their hidden insecurities, and their superficial behavior. Without any effort on your part, they are forced to confront parts of themselves they usually ignore. You don't need to intervene. You don't need to point anything out. Your mere presence highlights the inconsistencies between who they pretend to be and who they actually are. That discomfort, that subtle unease, is why they feel nervous or awkward around you. Their own self-reflection becomes unavoidable, triggered by your awareness rather than your words. And the deeper truth is, this isn't about them being weak or flawed. It's about them being unaccustomed to honesty and presence. They've spent years avoiding it, so when someone embodies it naturally, it feels unsettling. They walk away from you thinking, consciously or not, about how they behaved, what they said, and what they revealed, even without realizing it. They might even try to rationalize it, blame themselves, or overcorrect next time. That's the quiet power of presence. It doesn't manipulate, it doesn't confront, and yet it forces people to face themselves in a way that nothing else can. You don't teach, you just are. And that makes them notice the truth about themselves, whether they like it or not. Number 9, you don't overshare, so people can't locate your weaknesses. Most people give away pieces of themselves without even noticing it. Every conversation is an opportunity to connect, so they spill stories, opinions, personal struggles, and little secrets, thinking it builds trust. The problem is, the more they reveal, the more others know exactly how to manipulate, pressure, or control them. Oversharing creates invisible handles that people can grab when they want to push buttons, test limits, or provoke reactions. You don't operate like that. You share selectively, carefully, and rarely. You don't feel the need to fill silence with personal anecdotes. You don't announce your achievements, your struggles, or your emotions unless it genuinely matters. You don't chase validation by letting people peek into your inner world. That lack of oversharing isn't arrogance, it's strategy, whether conscious or instinctive. It's protection and power rolled into one. And that makes people nervous. Humans rely on information to feel safe around others. They want to know who they're dealing with. If someone opens themselves fully, it creates predictability. People can anticipate reactions, plan manipulation, or test boundaries. But when you keep most of yourself private, no one can figure you out. They have no grip, no anchor, no way to calculate how you'll respond. That uncertainty is unsettling. It creates tension in social interactions because most people are wired to respond to patterns. They want consistency, predictability, and clues about intentions. You give them none. They don't know what you think, what you feel, or what will trigger a reaction, and without that, they feel exposed, not you. Their insecurity rises, their attempts to probe or manipulate fall flat, and they overcompensate to try to understand you. Meanwhile, you remain calm, collected, and entirely untouchable. You're not cold. You're not distant. You're simply aware that sharing too much gives power to others. By keeping yourself contained, you create an invisible shield. And the weird part is, they feel it. They notice it subconsciously. They might even admire it while simultaneously being unnerved. Your restraint becomes your quiet power. And in a world where oversharing is the norm, being unreadable isn't just rare, it's disarming. People can't exploit what they can't see, and that alone makes you formidable. Number 10, you predict outcomes before they happen. Most people react to life like it's happening to them. They wait for events to unfold, stumble through situations, and hope they can adapt fast enough. They trust luck, chance, or circumstance to guide them. And when things go wrong, they're shocked, frustrated, or panicked. That's normal, it's human. You don't operate like that. You notice patterns. You connect dots that most people don't even see exist. You watch behavior, track decisions, and sense intentions in a way that allows you to anticipate the next move. Not like some psychic, but like someone reading a map while everyone else is wandering blindly. You see the ripple effect before it becomes a wave. You hear the hesitation in a voice, the slight shift in tone, the way someone glances at an opportunity they might exploit later. And from all that, you know the likely outcome before it happens. That level of awareness changes how people perceive you. When someone throws a plan, a manipulation, or a bluff your way, they expect to see your reaction unfold in real time. They expect you to guess, to misstep, to adjust. Instead, you're already prepared. You know what's coming, you know how it will land, and you respond in a way that makes it look effortless. To them, it feels uncanny, like you somehow anticipated their every move before they made it. The unsettling part for others isn't just that you're right, it's that you make it look natural. You don't flaunt foresight, you don't brag, you don't gloat. You respond calmly, clearly, and decisively. And when the predicted outcome unfolds exactly as you expected, they can't help but notice. This makes people nervous without them realizing why. They sense your awareness and ability to process far ahead of their own understanding. They feel like they're playing catch-up in a game they didn't even know they were losing. And over time, that quiet, steady foresight becomes your signature presence. People start respecting you, hesitating around you, and questioning their own choices, all without you ever raising your voice or asserting control. Predicting outcomes isn't about control, it's about perception, attention, and clarity. And when someone consistently demonstrates it, it feels less like skill and more like instinct. That instinct is powerful, and it's what makes people pause, rethink, and quietly fear being outmaneuvered, even if you never consciously set out to do it. Number 11. You stay emotionally steady when others spiral. Most people are reactive. They let their emotions drive their behavior. A harsh word makes them defensive. A slight insult sparks anger. A stressful situation triggers panic. It's not weakness, it's human. Most of us haven't been trained to regulate our internal state, so we react first and think later. The world is full of people on autopilot, reacting to whatever happens, allowing chaos to dictate how they behave. You operate differently. You don't let the chaos dictate you. You observe it, understand it, and move through it without letting it touch your core. When someone tries to provoke you, you remain calm. When drama erupts around you, you stay collected. When emotions spike in a group, you don't spiral with them. You anchor yourself in quiet clarity. That kind of steadiness is rare, and it changes the dynamic instantly. People notice it. They feel it before they can even describe it. When everyone is panicking, you are the only one breathing steadily. When everyone is reacting impulsively, you are processing deliberately. That calmness forces people to pause. It makes them second-guess their own reactions. They realize that if they are spiraling and you are not, something about you is different. It's like you exist in a different zone, a place where chaos doesn't touch you. And that difference is unsettling to anyone who depends on emotional manipulation or predictability. The more people try to push buttons, the less they succeed. They expect reactions because that's what everyone gives. Anger, fear, confusion, defensiveness, those are normal responses. But when none of them land, their power over the situation disappears. You create a psychological friction that they can't resolve because you're not moving like they expect. You're untouchable, not through force, but through presence and emotional discipline. That calm becomes a mirror. People start noticing their own overreactions, their impulsiveness, and their need to control. They adjust, they hesitate, and sometimes they even overcompensate in ways that reveal more than they intended. By staying steady, you shift the energy around you without speaking a word. You demonstrate a level of control that makes others pause and reassess themselves, leaving them subtly intimidated and quietly aware of their own instability in comparison. Number 12, you make people feel psychologically transparent. Most people walk around wearing invisible armor. It's made of rehearsed words, carefully measured expressions, fake smiles, and controlled body language. They rely on it to survive social interactions, to hide insecurity, to protect themselves from judgment. It's their safety net. As long as the armor holds, they can control what others see, control how they're perceived, and keep the messy, uncomfortable parts of themselves private. Then you show up. And for some reason, that armor feels thin around you. People start acting differently, often without realizing why. Their smiles falter, their laughter feels forced, their stories change mid-sentence. The confidence they rely on suddenly seems hollow. It's not that you've done anything aggressive, you haven't judged them, shouted, or pointed anything out. You're just present, observant, and authentic. Your awareness highlights the cracks in their carefully constructed facade. Every hesitation, every over-explained detail, every small, nervous tick becomes amplified. They can't hide what they normally hide, because you notice. And the more they notice you noticing, the more exposed they feel. It's like the mirror they've been avoiding has been turned on them without permission. This effect is subtle but powerful. People can't articulate it, but they sense that you see what they don't want to show. You don't need to comment, confront, or interrogate. Your mere presence makes them reveal themselves in ways they wouldn't with anyone else. Lies feel harder to sustain. Pretenses crumble faster. Fake confidence becomes transparent, and insecurities that normally hide in shadow rise to the surface. They walk away uneasy, even if you never said a word. There's a sense of vulnerability that lingers, the feeling that their inner world was briefly exposed and no one else could see it. And it's unnerving because it happens naturally. You haven't done anything to provoke it. You haven't tried to manipulate or dominate. You're simply aware, grounded, and fully present. The reality is, most people aren't used to being truly seen. You don't just look at them, you notice. And in that noticing, you make the hidden parts of their psyche impossible to ignore. They feel transparent. And that feeling, whether acknowledged or not, terrifies them far more than any confrontation ever could. Number 13. The truth is simpler and scarier. You're just deeply aware. Most people go through life half asleep. They react automatically to what they see, hear, or feel. They follow routines without thinking, respond emotionally without analyzing, and rarely stop to notice the subtle patterns running through their relationships, their environment, or even their own behavior. Their world is a blur of distractions, noise, and superficiality, and they don't even realize how little they actually perceive. You don't live like that. You notice, you pay attention. Every glance, every word, every subtle gesture, every inconsistency, it registers with you. You connect the dots that others never even see, and you recognize patterns before they fully reveal themselves. You're present in a way most people aren't, and that awareness creates a quiet power that people instinctively sense but can't define. What makes it unsettling for others is that you don't need to do anything dramatic. You're not trying to manipulate, intimidate, or control. You're simply aware, and awareness is dangerous to those who depend on illusion, pretense, or distraction. They can't hide their true intentions, their insecurities, or their contradictions from you, because you notice them immediately. The lies, the exaggerations, the rehearsed personas, they crack the moment they encounter your observation. People feel this without fully understanding why. They over-explain, they stumble, they act out of character, they scramble to regain control of situations that feel normal to everyone else, but are transparent in front of you. And all of this happens without you saying a word or making a move. Being deeply aware doesn't just make you perceptive, it makes you untouchable. You don't have to chase truth or force clarity. Your attention naturally exposes what is hidden. And in a world where almost everyone is blind to the details that matter, your full presence is almost supernatural. The scary part for people is simple. They've gotten used to living in a fog. You walk through that fog fully awake, seeing everything as it is. That level of awareness makes you impossible to predict, impossible to manipulate, and impossible to underestimate. And for anyone who thrives on half-truths and illusions, you are a silent storm they can't prepare for. Number 14. The truth is simpler and scarier. You're just deeply aware. Most people go through life on autopilot. They react before they think, follow routines without noticing them, and interact with others without truly seeing them. Their world is a constant blur of noise, distraction, and half-hearted observation. They trust appearances, words, and surface-level behavior because they rarely look deeper. It's comfortable, predictable, and safe until someone like you comes along. You notice everything. Not in a dramatic way, not like a detective solving a crime, but with natural precision. Every gesture, every hesitation, every subtle shift in tone or expression registers with you. You catch the micro-patterns that most people overlook entirely. You understand motives, intentions, and contradictions without anyone spelling them out. To you, the hidden truths of people's behavior are as obvious as the sky above. That awareness is quiet, but it's deadly effective. People around you start to feel exposed without realizing it. Their rehearsed stories crack, lies stumble, pretenses falter. They fidget, over-explain, or act differently, sensing that you see through them. And it isn't because you're confrontational or judgmental. It's because you exist fully aware. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to manipulate or interrogate. Your perception alone changes the energy around you. What makes this truly unsettling for others is that they can't control it. They are used to being able to predict reactions, to manipulate responses, to hide behind masks. But you operate outside of that system. Your awareness strips away the safety nets they rely on, and suddenly they are navigating a reality where every move is visible to someone awake, calm, and fully present. This level of deep awareness feels almost supernatural to people who live half-conscious. They can't hide, they can't distract you, and they can't manipulate your perception. You don't walk into their dreams. You walk into reality fully awake, and that's scarier, because you see what everyone else is blind to. And in a world built on ignorance and illusion, seeing the truth so clearly is both rare and terrifying. The power of presence. What ties all of this together is simple yet profound. Your awareness. You move through the world differently because you notice things others don't. You see motives behind words, patterns behind actions, and truths behind facades. You remember what others forget? Stay calm when they spiral, and reveal honesty without ever asking for it. Your presence doesn't scream. It doesn't demand. It quietly shifts energy, exposes hidden realities, and forces people to confront themselves in ways they didn't anticipate. In a world where most people live distracted, performative lives, you operate with a clarity that feels almost supernatural. You don't chase approval. You don't overshare. You don't react on autopilot. Every interaction is a subtle demonstration of your control, not over others, but over your own perception. You don't need to push, manipulate, or dominate. Simply being fully present, fully aware and grounded is enough to make people rethink themselves, reveal truths they meant to hide, and stumble over the facade they've built. This isn't about being intimidating for the sake of it. It's about embodying a level of awareness that others aren't prepared for. It's about understanding human behavior so deeply that it becomes impossible to be misread, manipulated, or underestimated. Your presence alone becomes the force that reshapes interactions, subtly disarms deceit, and reveals the truth without a single word. That's the power you carry, quiet, effortless, and extraordinary. So embrace it. Recognize that your ability to observe, perceive, and remain steady in the chaos is rare. Most people will never notice it, some will fear it, and others will admire it secretly. But that doesn't matter. Your awareness is your strength, your clarity is your shield, and your presence is your silent influence over the world around you. If this resonated with you, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss content that elevates your awareness and sharpens your presence. Like this video, if you found these insights powerful, comment below sharing your experiences with people who couldn't handle your awareness, and share this with someone who needs to see the truth about human behavior. Every interaction you have is stronger when you understand the power you already carry, and it starts right here. God bless you.